Good morning and welcome to the Money Matters for the week ending August 1st, 2025. I had a great question from a client this week about credit reports and how often they should check them. So we're going to talk about that. So we recommend that you check your credit report at least annually. And for some of you who are more active, especially those, maybe younger and really working to improve your scores, probably 2 times a year to even quarterly, if you're really looking to build it. But even if you are not actively looking for credit, or maybe you're retired and you're not borrowing money, you still want to check it at least annual. Couple things. First off, here is a site you can go to. Now there are other sites, but this one is safe and has been used a lot. And this is just annualcreditreport.com. This is completely free. Once a year, they will give you reports from all the major credit agencies, and you can see how you compare. And there is just a list of stuff. I did mine yesterday before making this video, and there's one thing in there we don't agree with. It was a car that was paid off on time, and they said the last payment was late, and it wasn't. So we'll talk about that. But didn't affect our score, and scores and everything are still good, and there was nothing that I didn't recognize in there. So hopefully no one's walking around with my identity anywhere. If they are, maybe they're not using credit for it. So it's good to just make sure that that's not happening. And obviously it does directly affect your credit score. So this report will get you that. You can go through it. You can contest it if you need it. Also, we bank at Consumers Credit Union, not an endorsement for them. But anytime we log in, they show our credit score right there on the homepage. So we can always see where it's at. Remember, your credit score different than the report. That is just sort of a summary of, it's like a grading scale, right? And 850 is really, really good. Anything generally over 720 is going to get you probably premier rates. And you start getting below that and into the 400s and 500s, and you're gonna be considered a high risk, and you're gonna get surcharged. So if you're gonna go to finance a house or a car or something, you want to drive that score up, which leads to our next point: what affects the score? And so this can be so confusing. I just took this off ChatGPT, kind of my new best friend, and cut and pasted it. So there's the notes on the annualcreditreport.com. Okay, so what determines your score? 35% is paying your bills on time. I mean, common sense, right? If you pay your bills on time, creditors like that. That's great. Late payments can really hurt you, so you want to be careful with that. Lowering your credit utilization ratio. Now there's some discussion on this. The more credit you have, and the more ability to spend, is not always a good thing. But if you're utilizing that, if you have $100,000 available to you and you're only regularly carrying a $10,000 balance, that's 10% credit utilization. That's really good. It shows you're disciplined. Again, we always recommend point 2, pay that off every month. Again, installments and things, you're not going to pay a car off typically in a month, but credit cards, we really, really want to try to pay those off monthly because of the carrying cost of the interest. Credit limit increases. Sometimes people don't think about this, but every year or so, I'll just call my credit card and just say, hey, can you bump this up? Let's bump it up. And no reason other than then it's there, and it does make the utilization ratio look a little better, and that doesn't really hurt your credit. Okay. Credit history. This one's tough. Now that I'm almost 45, it's not as big a deal. But I used to get so frustrated in my 20s and 30s, and I checked my credit, and it'd be lower than I wanted it to be, not because I did anything wrong, because I didn't have enough history. So this is a great, and again, another controversial topic, but is your kids start getting, and they have a job and they're working, smart utilization of a credit card, or doing things like where you get stuff in their name and they're making timely payments. It is good to start building that credit history, because when they go to buy a house or something where they need financing directly, it's nice to have history. I got a rude awakening in that in my early 20s, because I never had a credit card, and always paid cash, and thought that was smart and it was good, but didn't have any credit history. So now the second point, a little bit of a discussion topic here. Going by the point above, if you keep those old credit cards open with a zero balance, your credit utilization is better. However, I don't like a bunch of credit cards sitting out there in my name that are open if I'm never going to use them. If you've ever financed something from a store, and because you gave you 0% for 6 months and you're not going back there, or just a credit card you don't use anymore, we use 2 only just to keep track of everything. 1 for business, 1 for personal, that's it. I personally like to close those cards. I don't like them out there floating around for whatever. I also think, particularly, and this has been proven with meetings with clients, when you have those store cards, those are the ones that people tend to put money on and forget about it. And next thing you know, they're paying 20% interest and they forgot about it. Okay. Next point is new applications. If you go to buy a car, you go to buy a house, and you have different people pulling your credit, and you get a bunch of pulls at once, it's going to hurt your score for a little bit. But typically not too bad, but just be aware of that. And then the fifth piece is to diversify your types of credit. I'll talk about in here: credit cards, auto loans, installment notes, etc. So that's a little bit more about credit. Hopefully that was helpful. It's still very much a mystery, how they actually score that. But as always, if you have any questions at all, please reach out. We are here for you, your family, and friends. Have a great weekend.